Pleased to be joined now by the man who coached Kaiir Elam at the cornerback position at the University of Florida last year. Now the cornerbacks coach at Temple University, Jules Montinar, joining us here on the line. And Jules, thanks for carving out some time for us. See, now you're a Deion Dawkins alma mater, so we got some connections there too. Our left tackle up here. But why don't we start here with Kaiir, because you had last season with him, so maybe just kind of walk us through your initial impressions of him as you walked in the door, knowing you'd be coaching his position.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, first off, I want to say appreciate you guys for having me on. The next thing I want to say is this, man. Hey, put the playbook on the plane, baby. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, right. Was he that kind of kid when you coached him? I mean, is that his way of doing things?
Absolutely, man. That's how he handles his business. That's why he's where he's at today. The next thing I want to say is this: shout out to the Bills Mafia. The Buffalo Bills just got bigger, stronger, and faster, baby. Let's go.
Yeah. So when you walk onto campus, he's got a new position coach. How did you kind of, forge that relationship with him? And was it pretty easy going, knowing he's all about football?
Yeah, I think, going into it, so my first interaction with Kaiir Elam was back in 2019. I was an assistant coach at the University of Florida. He came on a recruiting trip, and then the three schools that came down to was Georgia, Florida, and Colorado. He ended up signing with Florida, and 2 years later, I got the cornerback job at Florida, so we linked up, and we immediately hit it off. So one of the first things I did, I went back and watched all the games from the previous year, and made a cut up of all his, good, better, best, and all the, so all the great plays continue to do that. There's some good plays that could be great, so we worked on those, and there's some plays that needed some improvement. And we just sat down the third day on the job, just watching the technique and the fundamentals for each particular play, and we just hit it off from there.
And when you talk about what you saw in him, not only back then, but this year, how big a difference was there, or did you notice? And how great a talent do you think Kaiir can be, and particularly at the level you saw this last year?
Yeah, I think the sky's the limit for him. I mean, he's a young man still. He's 20 years old. He's played a lot of football. He's played in a very, very good conference, and I think his best football is probably ahead of him. So going into the season, obviously there's all this hype about this big time corner, projected first round draft pick corner in my room. And it was my job to make sure, that happened. And there's a lot of things that, that's the guy, when I got there, he was already developed already. So my job was, hey, number one, let's build a great relationship. Number two, let's find a way to enhance some of the things that needed some tweaking. And one of the best things Kaiir does is press man technique. When we find a way to improve that and enhance it, and he is very, very consistent throughout the year. And we really just broke it down into three different things. We talk about level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1's the line of scrimmage, level 2's the intermediate route, level 3 is the deep part of the field. And if you go back and watch his tape this past year now, if you look at the stat sheet, there wasn't a lot of stats in the deep part of the field. Well, part of the reason is not a lot of teams are throwing at him because he had his guys covered.
Yeah. The one thing that people wonder about him is, what happens when he's playing off? What happens when he's playing in the zone concepts? And because it's more reactive, you're not, just relying largely on your physical ability as you are when you're in press man. You have to react a little bit more. So I'm not going to pretend to know how much zone you guys played down there or how much you asked him to, participate in zone concepts, because maybe he was just locking up the other team's best guy the whole game. I don't know that. How would you feel he's, I know he's a student of the game, but how do you feel his game translates to knowing how to play off of his teammates in the secondary and zone concepts and things like that?
He'll be good to go. Whatever the task is asked of him, he's going to work at it and to his best of his ability. Now, from a defensive schematic standpoint, primarily we were a press man-to-man.
Right.
A lot of our quarters was man match. A lot of our 3 deep was man match. So that's just that was just what we did. Now, at the same time, we did have some zone concepts as well too, and I feel like he's going to do great at his zone concept. He has excellent. He plays the ball well in the deep part of the field. He has a really good feel for wide receivers in the deep part of the field, and I also think that's one of his strengths of his games, being able to play, 40, 45, 50 yards away from the line of scrimmage, not panicking in the deep part of the field versus wide receiver. So to answer your question, I don't think that will be an issue at all. We just particularly asked him to play a lot of press man-to-man, and we did sprinkle some off coverage, and he'll be good to go there.
We talked about how gifted he is. He's big. He's a big athlete. He's long and rangy at the corner spot and fast, and he's got all of that. Talk to us a little bit. We got a glimpse of it in some of the pre-draft processes. After the draft, they went back and showed us what his interview was like in Indianapolis when they had him in, and what they talked about in that interview. What kind of give us an insight as to your relationship with him as a coach every day when you see him coming in, how he affects other players, what the other players think about him. And as you said, he's really young for an NFL player coming out of college at the age he is at 20.
Absolutely. Well, I'll say this. He leads by example, and he's also a vocal leader. So, for instance, like I talked about, him and I having those one-on-one meetings, and when we were having those one-on-one meetings, he would pull out his notebook, and he would be writing notes down, and he's like, "Coach, slow down a second. I got to write that down." So as you're learning about the guy, that's pretty impressive now. And it wasn't just for a show. And then we get into our position meetings. I mean, he would write down everything I said, or defense coordinator, or secondary coach, whatever meeting we were in. He had his notebook and pen ready to go. And meanwhile, some of the lesser talent guys wasn't always taking the notes that they needed to. And here's a guy that's a projected top NFL prospect, and he's taking all the notes. So to me, that was really, really impressive. And then I saw the clippings of him pulling out his notebook and showing the scouts and the general managers the type of notes that he took. That's true. That is a true statement. And those are a lot of those things that goes unseen. And the last thing I'll say about that is, and before I move forward, I also use that example with my current players here at Temple. You know what I'm saying? Hey, when you're in the meeting room, write the information down so you can go back and study it. And Kaiir is a student in the game, and he comes from a great family, with his dad and uncle. The name Elam in the state of Florida. If you know anything about the state of Florida, that holds a lot of weight. And for him to be able to work hard the last 3 years and put himself in this position, I'm really, really happy for the guy. And I'm proud of him. He's an excellent young man. His mom and dad, his mom, Miss Shiloh, and his dad, Abe, they're great people. He's got a great support team. And Kaiir is a driven guy now. I mean, I text him, congratulations at the draft. And his first response was like, "Hey, Coach, I appreciate it. Appreciate everything you did for me." He's like, "But I'm pissed off because there's 3 guys that got drafted ahead of me, and I got something to prove." And that's just how he rolls. Another story I'm gonna tell you is this. During the course of the year, I can remember one particular Saturday. I had a recruit in, and I needed somebody to go hang out with him. And I called Kaiir around 8:30, 9 o'clock. I said, "Hey, will you mind taking this guy out for me?" He said, "Coach, I'm asleep. I'm in the bed. What I'm saying? I'm trying to get my body ready for the following week." So I'm just happy for the guy because as a coach, I've coached anywhere from Division II all the way down to the Power 5 level. And it's very seldom you run to a young man, with his character and his work ethic.
Yeah. Well, listen, Jules, we appreciate you painting the picture a little bit better for us on Kaiir. Good luck up there at Temple this coming fall, all right? And we'll catch up with you down the line. Thanks very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. You guys have a great one.